Okay, you may ask the question.
Okay, so based on the definition of social entrepreneurship, I would like to know if this counseling service that was offered in Japan had like any revenue stream. How did they generate revenue, or if it's just a counseling service for people were in distress, can we really call it a social entrepreneurship venture? And yes, I would want to know if it's really a social entrepreneurship venture or just an NGO.
Yeah, okay. So I think they charge a small amount, okay, but not as much or as it should be in a totally market determined world. Okay, in fact, that's something I want to touch upon here, which is about the ethical issues to each type of social entrepreneur. Okay, so here you can see for social collar, the efficiency issue exists, okay, because their price is probably, almost very bottom price, okay? So in that case, the price is not really responsive to the true need, okay? So if the price actually depends on, how much time you need to talk to them, and how urgent you need to talk to them, then maybe the time that they have can be allocated more efficiently. Okay, for example, if someone just lost his dog, that's one thing. If someone loses his parents, that's another thing, right? So you can price them maybe differently. But that's not ethical here, or maybe the funder doesn't want to apply that kind of price system. So efficiency kind of is a secondary consideration here. And the implications of suboptimal pricing on the quality, availability, and delivery of services rendered. Now, if they make use of, say, volunteers, okay, then how to make sure that the volunteers are delivering, quality service, right? So that's something of difficulty for the social blue collar. Okay, if you rely on the volunteers, if you rely on, the less efficient price system. Okay, so then that's something you need to worry about. Okay, how to improve your management, how to make sure the service that you provide are fairly kind of allocated to the people in need. Okay, and for social constructionists might manipulate or even coerce others to gain their support, compliance, or acquiescence. Okay, so sometimes they may think that they are doing a great job. They have a great cause. For example, asking people to donate to poor regions, right? So sometimes they may fake evidence. For example, using some previous thank you note to serve as some kind of evidence for, to get other people to donate, okay, or continue to donate, right? So they may kind of exaggerate some of those evidences, okay, or may even coerce other people to, to donate or use their service. So, for example, if somebody is using this twopresents.com for a birthday party, and then they may, during the party, they may kind of they may try to convince the other kids to schedule their birthday parties the same way, with 2 presents. Okay, so they may add pressure or peer pressure to those families, to those kids, and force them to kind of use their service. Okay, I'm not saying that 2 presents, use that kind of practice. I'm just saying that it's possible for a social constructionist to manipulate or even coerce others, to gain their support. Okay, so that's some ethical issue that a social constructionist need to worry about. Okay, and the social constructionists sometimes also need to gain support from donors or from governments. Okay, and the donors and governments, they may have their own kind of objectives. Okay, so this may be different from the social constructionists. Right? So here there's a coordination or oversight that needs to be put in place. Okay. And for the social engineers, since they are creating something completely new, which does not exist before, so sometimes the rule breaking may be essential. Okay, and that's risky, in fact. Okay, as social engineer, we may try something in gray area. Okay, but if it's black and white against law, that is really a risk that the funder should avoid. Okay, otherwise, you may not only put yourself into danger. You may also drag other people into illegal activities. Okay, so do have a system in place that can kind of help you judge whether something is completely against the law or whether something that is not entirely forbidden. Okay, even though it may be against culture at the moment, against the tradition at the moment. Okay, but still that's something that you can try. Okay, so charismatic leaders may be too aggressive and sometimes may take unnecessary risks. So that's why in terms of how to deal with this management issue, how to deal with these ethical issues, we need to think about some external mechanism. Okay, so maybe you have a another board of directors, okay, which contains some other stakeholders, okay, who can be used as a sounding board to remind you of all kinds of risks, okay, especially the legal risk that you're taking, okay. All right, so now let's talk about this project selection using screening in and screen out criteria. Okay, the screen out criteria says the following, that you should screen out a project if any of the below is the case. Okay, for example, the last item where laws will be transgressed. Okay, so that's what I just said. If there's a law which says what you do or your project is trying to do is black and white against the law, then this should be put aside. Okay, should screen out this project. Okay, so let's look at the first one. You should screen out a project if it generates dependency rather than self-sufficiency. okay? So what your project should do, for us as a social entrepreneur, we're trying to empower people, okay? We don't want others to be solely dependent on us, or we solely dependent on some donor, okay? So we should emphasize on self-sufficiency, okay? We may need some help at the beginning, or the beneficiaries may need some help at the beginning, right? But we don't want to create just a pure dependency, either on the part of the beneficiaries or as a part of us as a social entrepreneur, okay? We should screen out if it will be allocated in countries where corruption is rampant, okay? Well, this one is tough, okay, because in many countries, corruption is rampant, okay? Even in the case of China, even though we have been going against corruption for so many years, I think it's still there, okay? If this criteria is applied throughout, then that's going to kill a lot of project, okay? So these criteria are put here in the playbook as some kind of guidance, okay? You may have your own screen out criteria put in place, okay? So maybe the funders, when they trying to brainstorm, they may initially put some screen out criteria together, okay? Where any necessary equipment is not highly robust, simple to operate, and easy to repair. Because if it really takes a lot of human capital to know how to operate, or if this machinery is so delicate, then it can easily be broken, and there goes your venture, okay? If whose operations require a large percentage of employees to have advanced technical qualifications. So that's the same, that's, again, we wanted to have something that's simple and easy to operate, okay? Where eventually the net revenues from activities are insufficient to cover replacement of assets. Okay, so in other words, if it clearly shows that even in the long term, the project is not going to be self-sustainable, okay? Your net revenue is not enough to cover the replacement of assets, then you better stop doing it, okay? Where workers and partners involved in the project will earn less than the nationally stipulated minimum wage, okay? What do you think about this part? Is that something we definitely should avoid?
Yes, I think so. If the benefits of the workers or partners are even below the minimum wage, they don't have the incentive to join us or persist. So we should definitely avoid this.
What about this is just in the beginning?
I think in the beginning, it could be tolerable for some people because they may just want to contribute to solve the social problem around them. But in the long run, this should be eliminated because otherwise people will be discouraged.
Okay. Let me see if there's any other views.
I think this it should be. I think this is true, and I think this is a big problem of the current many NGOs. The workers of many NGOs, the wage and the salaries of them are pretty not that high, and I think this is already a problem.
Okay, so here there's I mean we have two different concepts. Okay, one is to say whether they are not that high. One is to say they're even lower than minimum wage. Okay, lower than minimum wage, that's already, say, against the law. Okay, it's almost like the last item where laws will be transgressed. Okay, now, if it is volunteer, then that's fine. Okay, they don't accept anything. Okay, so I know that some company is using the interns, and the interns sometimes don't need to be paid. Okay, so in Hong Kong, these interns, even if they are not paid anything, on the first day of work, they need to sign a petition. Okay, saying that I agree not to be paid for this period of internship. Okay, because I view that as a as a training, necessary training, and that it benefits myself. So we have to have a self-declaration, and this one need to be registered with the relevant department, even on the first day. Okay, so for us, if we are studying something, we better do it strictly, strict compliance with the law. Okay, so if it's volunteer, that's fine, but we need them to sign the paper. Okay, if it's not volunteer, if we pay them below the minimum wage, then we're in big trouble. Okay, we shouldn't be doing that, right? But we may pay them below the market. Okay, we may pay them like 20% below the market, which actually exists. I think, as Xinyi said, probably widely exists. But why do they willing to work? Why are they willing to work here? Well, because they see some social value in what we do, right? Okay, so that can be justified. But even that, I mean, we should try very hard to at least make this place an interesting place for them to work, to contribute. Okay, and we shouldn't pay them, that much below the market. And we need talent. We actually need the creative talent. Okay, where a pilot business cannot be launched and run at low cost. Okay, so if what you do, your project requires a big, front up cost. You need some fancy machinery that to get you started. That's very dangerous. Okay, then you need to really have a much clearer feasibility study. Okay.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Like I think for this question, I think I have different views. Because I think it really depends on what the problem you want to solve. If it's really a social problem that, for example, the housing issue, and probably if you want to start this project, you probably need resources like a real house or so and huge capital. But I think this can also happen. So.
Yeah, but I think what you want to start is maybe a small project first. Okay, maybe a small house in a less central place. Okay, you don't want to start it in Hong Kong
yeah, definitely.
Place. Okay, you want to do it in a smaller fashion and see whether that's workable. And in fact, the Hong Kong housing situation is really a big problem. In fact, there are like more than maybe 200,000 people living in tiny, tiny places. Okay, very, very crowded. In fact, you know, the Bank of China, the previous chairman of the Bank of China, if you take out your bill, sometimes you will see his signature on that, you know, $500 bill currency. And when he retired, his mission is to kind of do something to help those people who live in subdivided units in Hong Kong. I mean, he showed us some photos, which, you know, it's really terrible to look at. Okay. And this time around, I think that the you know, Hong Kong government wants to do something about that problem. Okay, so I think the idea here is to run some smaller scale tests, you know, to test out feasibility. Okay, and then maybe scale up if your solution seems to make sense. Okay, seems to work. Okay. Okay, where you do not believe that you will successfully effect the requisite beneficiary behavior change. Okay, if you think that you know, those people cannot be changed, it's just their tradition. Okay, they are used to it. You will never be able to change them. Then you probably shouldn't try. Okay. Now, project.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, I have a question about that. The previous the fourth point. So it should exclude a project who have advanced technical qualifications, but you mentioned in the our individual introspection that we need to think about the technical innovation. So
yeah, no, technical innovation is fine, but if you require a large percentage of employees, okay, I mean, you can have a few you know, advanced technicians who understand you know, all of that innovation. That is one thing. But if you need a large percentage of your employees to all understand that, that's going to be an issue. Okay. You can probably hire a few, you know, advanced technicians, but if you need to hire a bunch of them, then you cannot afford. Okay.
Thanks.
Yes. Okay. Now for the screening criteria. Now here, it's not that you know, if there's one of them, then you're going to screen in this you know, this project and say, well, let's go ahead. Okay. It's just that having one of these maybe, you know, conditions satisfied, it would make the project more attractive. Okay, just more attractive. So it's not a sufficient condition to screen in. Okay, just that you know, it makes it more attractive. Okay, so for example, if the number of people who will be helped will be high. Okay, so instead of dozens, you're going to talk, you know, we're talking about thousands and hundreds and thousands of beneficiaries. Okay, or even more than that. Okay, as we saw, some of the project, they kind of covers like 100,000 households. Okay, for example, right? And if the diagnosis of the problem to be attacked is high, okay, so in other words, you are reducing a lot of suffering. Okay, so that's something worth considering. Okay, worth more consideration. Okay, if the project has large long-term benefits, right? I think there was a study about how to help kids. One is kind of cognitive, devote time to cognitive training. Another is to devote time for non-cognitive training. Okay, cognitive training means that you teach them some knowledge, right? Okay, so this may be beneficial to their next test. Okay, but it probably doesn't have a long-term significance. Okay, however, for those non-cognitive help or training, for example, teach them how to be patient. Okay, how to delay satisfaction until the right moment, right? And help them to gain the right habit. Okay, so this kind of non-cognitive training may actually bring in long-term benefits according to some studies. Okay, so those projects should be valued more in your selection process. And the key stakeholders will be highly supportive of the project because that's going to increase the success rate of your project. Okay. And if the beneficiaries are highly receptive to the solution, okay, because as we said, these solutions may require some change in behavior. Okay, so if if the beneficiaries are highly receptive to the idea, to your solution, then this also raises the chance of success of your project. Okay, if the degree of on-the-ground experience of the team is high, okay, that means you have, you really have the local knowledge or the contextual information that allow you to solve the problem. Experience of the lead entrepreneur is extensive. Okay, if this person is someone maybe like Marie, okay, who has had several successful kind of social entrepreneurial experiences, then that's much better than someone like me who doesn't have it. Okay. And testing on a small scale is easy. Okay, so if that's the case, we can do it step by step. We don't have to incur a big cost. It might be easier for me to ask some NGO to support some small scale exercise, okay, than asking for a big grant. Okay, so if you look at all these, I mean, these are all very intuitive. Okay, so it's not difficult to understand. But putting them together, I think is still, helpful when you engage in this kind of discussions. Okay. So let me now move on and talk about this case study of Celco. So how many of you have read this case study? Anyone? Okay, probably not. So let me go over the first part. Okay, so I break this case study into two parts. Okay, the part one is get started, and part two is to solve some financial problem. Okay, financial, kind of, they were on the brink of collapse, and how to get out of that. Okay, how to come out of that. Okay, so let me talk about the first part. Get started. Okay, so Celco is a kind of energy company, has this, having a slogan that they want to provide kind of solar energy for India's poor. Okay, so we're going to tell the whole story here, and this is the case study by Yale School of Management. They also have some kind of exercises listed. I'm not going to follow exactly their exercise, but I will ask you a few questions along the way, okay? So this founder, the co-founder, Harish Hande, co-founded the Cellco with someone in the US, okay, Neville Williams, in 1995, to sell and service photovoltaic systems, okay, 光伏系统, right? In his home state of Karnataka, India, okay? I mean, Karnataka's capital city is Bangalore. So maybe you heard about Bangalore, okay? So how did Hyundai got started? Well, he had a strong interest in trying to find a sustainable solution to India's energy problems, okay? So when he was doing his doctoral degree in the US, he was researching on heat transfer issues in large centralized solar thermal power stations, okay? So solar power, right? But it is a centralized solar power because sunlight in India was abundant, okay? So then in 1991, he took a trip to Dominican Republic. And that kind of changed his path of his research, changed of his subsequent career, okay? Because in Dominican Republic, Hyundai saw a different model for providing solar electricity to households. Okay, this is, if you look at it, the country had numerous micro enterprises and community facilities in rural areas using solar PV technology. Okay, so he came to believe that this type of approach would provide a better approach to the problem of electrifying India. Okay, so previously he was looking at, he was research on this centralized solar thermal power stations. Okay, then after the visit, he kind of was convinced by the idea of using this small standalone kind of PV system to electrify India's countryside. Okay, so he dumped his previous PhD thesis, okay, and went after the decentralized solar installation of small, okay, standalone PV systems on a building by building basis. Okay, so this is what they call the soft path. Okay, if there's a soft path, then there must be a hard path. Okay, so what is hard path? Well, in fact, Hyundai was not the first to advocate this soft path. Okay, somebody else in the US, okay, a US energy consultant by the name of Emery Levins, he argued in 1976 that the West should embrace a soft path to increasing its energy supply rather than its reliance on centralized coal or nuclear-fired power plants. Okay, so that's what he calls hard path. Okay, because according to him, using this standalone systems, then that would encourage energy conservation. Okay, because every household is responsible for its own usage of the electricity. Okay, how much they can generate and how much it will be able to use. Okay, so what do you think? The soft path and hard path. Which one would work for China?
I believe if China is going to do a energy transition from conventional traditional energy to renewable energy, I believe the soft paths that empower every household and empower people to do this, to power themselves. I believe this is a very this is the ultimate solution. I can say that this is one of the ultimate solutions.
Okay, any other views?
I think that when we compare the soft path here, that the soft path is more like for the rural areas, and I think in a lot of areas of China that are quite urbanized, that this might not be the way to go. That in China, I think it depends if you're talking about the areas that are still very rural, this might be a solution, but I think for the urbanized areas, it's not really the way to go. Yeah.
Okay. Now I would like to hear those who have not spoken. Okay. I still see a bunch of people who are still hiding. Anyone? Yeah.
Hi, I think maybe China will choose the hard path because the soft path include the how to say, the wind energy or solar energy that is not that stable. And actually in Germany because of the weather is bad, then so they their wind energy cannot be produced, and which leads to a severe social energy leakage.
Okay. I think you need to, of course, study the situation, right? Yes. Go ahead.
So far in Germany, we are still fine with energy shortages. So we kind of balance it.
Okay.
But the way forward, yeah, is the problem. That in the future, if we want to have more renewable energies, then we're gonna have a problem. But at the moment, at least, it's still okay.
Okay. All right. I think when you study, when you try to study all kinds of options, the hard path, the soft path, it will really need to. It has to be maybe area specific. Okay, maybe certain areas. Okay, if they don't have the wind, or if they don't have the the consistent sunshine, then these the soft path may not work. Okay. It depends on how easy it is to lay out all the grid. Okay. So you should be. I mean, there's no uniform answer here. Okay. But what I know in China is that these countryside, many countryside actually, especially the kind of the remote areas, they were adopting the soft, the soft approach. Okay, because it seems to be more workable, and in fact, those PV system actually help them generate generate income. Once they are installed on top of their roof. Okay. All right. So what did Hyundai do? Okay. So he returned to India in 1994 to research the viability of decentralized solar electricity in India. He traveled throughout rural areas in his home state of Karnataka. Okay. Spending considerable time living among villages, with limited or no access to electricity. Okay, so not like us. We are here, just 闭门造车, right? So that's why I also try to persuade you to do some interviews, to know more about the local situation, about the problem. Okay, since we cannot afford to go and live for a long time and watch, observing how the farmers were, dealing with their day-to-day need for electricity. So he not only researched the energy needs, but also observed the dynamics of their lives and the income generating activities. Okay, so how do they need the electricity in their income generating activities? Okay, so that's something called, product focused design. Okay, this is a product focused design. But this product focused design is only part of its success. Okay, the other part is that, in addition to ask, what do people need? He also realized that the political dynamics, the social dynamics, the relationship between neighbors was as important as looking at, what the product was. Okay, so here, when he studied the need for the product, this is the kind of the product he designed for the vegetable stand. Okay, so they continue to sell in the evening. Okay, and this is the device, the headlight, for the midwife. Okay, for the midwife who needs to deliver a baby. Okay, so that's a product focused design. Okay. So it says that sometimes this meant redesigning the solar equipment, and sometimes this meant restructuring activities so that solar energy could power a client's need. So you really want to observe what people need and what's the dynamics of their lives. Okay. But the financing of the capital expenses. Okay, so Cellco itself needs financing, and also the clients also need financing. Okay, so from his field research, Hyundai realized early that the success of solar installation for the poor would depend on designing creative financing solutions for its customers. Okay. I mean, obviously, these are some of these are like solar panels and batteries are very, very expensive. Okay, so many people will say, "Oh, you never succeed." Okay, but Cellco spent time cultivating India's banks and microfinance organizations. Okay, to convince them that if you lend the money, okay, to these poor families who apparently cannot afford these devices on their own, but these solar panels and batteries are just so efficient so that they can actually help these families to generate income, which will be more than sufficient to pay back the loans. Okay, so after many rounds of conversations and demonstrations, he was able to convince those banks and the microfinance organizations to form partnership with Cellco. Okay. So the payment model was lease to own. Okay, so the farmers can just lease those equipment. Okay, the solar panels and batteries, etc. Right, and then was able to own it after a certain period. After they paid enough lease for a sufficient number of periods, months, then they can own it. Okay, so by doing that, Hyundai demonstrate that poor people can afford sustainable technologies. Okay, if you give them some financing options that works. Okay, and poor people can maintain sustainable technologies. And social ventures can be run as commercial entities. Okay, as we will see that eventually they are money making. Okay. So the need for a partner to get started, as I said, they themselves, they also need financial capital, okay, to start with. So his partner was Neville Williams, who was a funder of SELF. Okay, SELF is a Solar Electric Light Fund. This is a US-based nonprofit organization. Okay, this is a nonprofit organization, and it's actually helping, global rural need for electricity. Okay, so therefore, Neville Williams wants to help. Is aligned with Hyundai in terms of the mission to electrifying rural India. Okay, so in 1995, the two partners, the two partnered to found Celco as an energy service company focused on meeting the needs of people lacking adequate access to energy. Okay, so the partnership, who is the majority owner? Well, it's Williams, okay, because Williams provide more of the capital, more of the money, okay. So Williams serves as chairman of the company, and Hyundai retained a minority shareholder position and played a role of managing director. Okay, so this is an example of a non-profit organization owning or controlling a for-profit subsidiary. Okay, so SELF is a non-profit organization in the US. Okay, and Celco is a for-profit subsidiary in India. Okay, so let me ask you one question, and then we're gonna maybe need to end here today. Can Williams pocket the profit made by Celco? So eventually, let's say eventually Celco made money, okay, having some profit. Can Williams pocket the money, pocket the profit? Anyone? So where does the profit go?
I think he cannot, because the majority stake is owned by Seth, like not really owned by William as a person. So he cannot take the profit.
Okay, but can he take the profit from the self?
It depends on how they set up the company, because they set up as like non-profit. I think there will be like a board of director that kind of control them.
It's not the board of director. Okay, it's the legal system. Okay, if you register as a non-profit organization, then you cannot pay yourself the profit. Okay, the profit cannot go back to you. The profit can only be used for other projects, okay, socially beneficial projects. Okay, so it's not that with the board approval you can, give the money to yourself, because if you are the majority owner of Self, I mean, you control the board. Okay, but the legal system would not allow you to do so.
Well, because in Hong Kong it's a little bit different. Like it is a bit weird actually. They have like kind of two boards, and then one board is the company board, and then the one board is to kind of control the NPO, something like that.
Okay, I need to look at Hong Kong's law later. If you have documents, share with me, okay, and with the all the class.
But yeah, the result is similar. Like you cannot take profit. The result is similar.
Okay, right. Okay, let's see. I think I don't have time to finish this part. You can take a look at it, and next time maybe we can continue. Okay. I think Marie will talk about the impact issue. I was going to give you some brief introduction, but maybe Marie will talk about it. And then if they did not cover what I want to cover, then I can also make supplements next time. Okay. So I'm very pleased that you have started to submit your individual introspection. I think it's probably not 100% yet. So for those of you who still need, a couple of hours, please do so before midnight. Okay. So that's the deadline. Okay. So far, I'm very happy with what I saw. So thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. OK， 志刚你留一下啊。Okay, let's see. Need to remove them. You may want to take a note of who I need to remove.
啊，这个 remove， 哦，我来 remove， 他们可能，等一下，他们对，他们对。
OK， 就是你需要 remove 的那些人，估计都是没在听课的。OK，
对，可能离线去做其他事了。
哎呀，也可能在 finish 那个他们的这个什么，OK， 你看了一下那些东西吗？
我没来得及全部看，我看了5、6篇，然后
OK， 我觉得有的好像还花了不少时间在那儿整理。当然，我也不知道里面到底有多少是，有没有从什么网上找的那些内容啊？这个我当然不太清楚。
对，
这个 grading 我就交给你了啊。这个，你看你需不需要这个我们一起 grade 几个，to get started， 或者说你觉得你可以 handle。
就是您可以说一下那个，就是您对这个 grading 它，有什么看法？
那这个 recording 还在进行。
哦，我把它关了。
那这个不好意思啊，我刚才说的那些这些人。
这个没关系。